This video will talk about the key features of graphs. Concavity. Concavity is if the parabola is open up or down. If the graph is in standard form, like this, then if A is positive, it opens up. I think about if it's positive, then it's happy and it looks happy, so I make a smiley face. If it opens up, then the graph has a minimum value always. This vertex would be a minimum. If the A, however, is down, it's sad. If the A is negative, then the graph opens down. But when the graph is opened down, it has a maximum. Its vertex is a maximum. If the graph is opened down, A is negative and it has a maximum point as its vertex. The next feature of a graph is the vertex. The vertex is either the lowest point, the minimum, or the highest point, the maximum on the graph. The vertex is also where the graph goes from, this graph would go from decreasing to increasing. This is the vertex for this graph. You always name the vertex with an ordered pair. So this one is 3, 1. Axis of symmetry is a line or an axis. Like the Earth rotates around an axis. So parabolas have an axis of symmetry or a line of symmetry that you could fold them and they would be symmetric. So for our graph, this line beep, 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 right there, that line would be called our axis of symmetry. It's a vertical line, and a vertical line you call with all the x values. So you would call this one x equals 3, or a line of symmetry. Graph. In this graph, our vertex is a minimum point. It is the lowest point on the graph. So 3, 1 is our lowest point. So the lowest point is called a minimum. If it was the highest point, it would be called the maximum. So a graph like this, now the vertex would be called a maximum. This graph shows x-intercepts. The x-intercepts on this graph, this one is -3, 0, and this x-intercept would be 5, 0. X-intercepts are sometimes called roots. They're sometimes called zeros. They're called x-intercepts, and they're sometimes called solutions. On our graph, the y-intercept, or where the graph crosses the y-axis, is called the y-intercept. This y-intercept is 0, 5. 0, 5. This is the y-intercept. I circled it in green. Alright, domain. Domain is all values x can be. It's the possible values of x. Domain is negative infinity to infinity. This is the x-axis. In all of the quadratic graphs, the domain always is negative infinity to infinity. And it means that you can put any values in for x. It will always keep it a real equation. X values are also input values. I always look at domain left to right. Range values are y values. Range values are y's. They always go from low to high. So in this graph, I always take my hand and go low to high. And the low point, because the vertex was 3, 1, the low point is 1. And it goes up forever. These arrows mean forever. So low to high. That's how you write it.